Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I am Catherine, and this is day 11 of our spring break sprint, diving into old F1 history and old F1 lore from before I became a fan in 2021. In case you missed it, I have a whole video on what we're doing here, linked above, and I am just here to help educate other Drive to Survive era Formula One fans about our sport. Now, in yesterday's episode, I reacted to the race that got Flavio Briatore banned for life, except no, he didn't. But it was a very interesting race. You should definitely go watch it. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a video in this series, and also so I can continue to inflict my motorsport opinions on the greater population. Now, let's dive into getting to know the very first Formula One world champion, Giuseppe Farina. He was born in 1906 in Turin, back when Italy was still a kingdom, which I always haven't taken a history class in a lot of years. Keep forgetting that kingdoms included the Kingdom of Italy. But anyway, he caught the attention of Enzo Ferrari of, Ferrari, and was signed to the racing team in 1936 because there was, in case you forgot, there was a lot of racing that happened before Formula One became a thing. Formula One was formalized in 1950, which is, of course, the year Farina won the championship. And before Formula One came around and became a thing, Farina won, among other things, 3 consecutive Italian championships until 1939, was also known for his involvement in a number of fatal accidents, because the fatalities were a lot higher back then than they are now, because there's a lot of improvements in things like safety. Then he had to take a little bit of a break from racing because there was a little thing happening in Europe in the 40s called World War II. But then he came back afterwards, and he actually won the pre-FIA 1948 Monaco Grand Prix in a Maserati. Of the 19 entrants in that race, only 7 cars finished, and one of the Maseratis on track featured 2 drivers in the same car, one being Luigi Villarossi and the other being 1952 and 1953 world champion Alberto Ascari. In one of the earlier episodes of the series, I'll link it above and put it in the show notes, where we talked about the drivers who won on their debut in Formula One. We talked about cars that also shared drivers in the same race. So that was kind of the same thing that happened here with Ascari. That Monaco Grand Prix in 1948 was 100 laps long, which sounds like a lot of laps to watch over and over and over in Monaco, especially considering how they're still trying very hard to fix Monaco. We will see in a couple of months what they do to fix the 2026 edition, or if they just don't. But that race was won in 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 26.9 seconds. So that was a very long race. 1950, Farina joined the F1 grid full-time with Alfa Romeo. If you are newer to Formula One, you know the Alfa Romeo as that bad team that Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu drove for, among other drivers. But back in the day, they were actually pretty decent. That season, there were only 7 races that were considered Formula One, the FIA-sanctioned World Championship races, but there were also 18 non-Formula races that a bunch of those drivers also participated in. The slate in 1950 was the opener at Silverstone, Monaco, the Indy 500, the Swiss Grand Prix, Spa, the French Grand Prix, and then Monza. Now, Farina did not drive in the Indy 500, but did take wins in Silverstone, at Switzerland, and at Monza. So those were his 3 wins. He had 1 P4 and won the championship with 30 points. And he also had 3 other wins in the non-championship sanctioned races. He defeated his teammate, Juan Manuel Fangio, who would also become world champion eventually, by 3 points. And Fangio was actually the one who won at Monaco, Spa, and France. And then, of course, we talked about Johnny Parsons, who won the Indy 500 that year in his F1 debut, technically. Farina also drove in Formula One full-time from 1951 to 1953. He finished P4 in 51, P2 in 52, and P3 in 53. In 1954, he had a P2 in Argentina and retired at Spa. That was the only races that he drove in. In 1955, he shared a drive in Argentina and finished P2 and P3 in the cars that he drove in, finished P4 in Monaco and P3 in Spa. Yes, you could share cars, and you also shared your points, which is how you get those like half points and quarter points and those weird points that you see in drivers from the 50s and 60s. He also entered but did not qualify at the 1956 Indy 500. Now, unfortunately, Farina passed at the age of 59 years old in 1966. He was in a motor accident on the way to the French Grand Prix to watch the race, but also to drive double for the French actor who was playing a character based on Farina's life in the 1966 film Grand Prix. So it was very unfortunate that the one thing that he was supposed to do was also the one thing that killed him, but also cars were much less safe back then. But who could have imagined back in 1950 that the World Championship would be what it is now? Because it's not 7 races. It is much more international. The drivers are significantly younger. The cars are bigger and weirder and a lot more technical. Like if you try to put Farina in a car today, I do not think that he's going to be able to get, I mean, he'd probably get pretty far, but he'd need to take a little bit of time to learn how to use the clutch pedals on the back of the steering wheel. So it's very, very interesting, very completely different time, but still the same sport. So it's pretty wild. Now, coming up next, because it is the day that we are supposed to be watching a race in Bahrain, because this is supposed to be the Bahrain Grand Prix weekend, we are actually going to be reliving the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix in honor of the race that took place on the Bahrain track, even though it's not technically a Bahrain Grand Prix, but we'll get into more of that in the next episode and what happened and the significant portions of that race. So don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for going off track with me, and I will see you in the next one.